as scholars, we are able to come out with some of our research work, whereby other institutions will also emulate and we're able to use in our organizations.
Thanks. A follow-up. If the focus is on sub-Saharan African countries,
yes,
then I was expecting that the literature, or maybe the article should have been limited to those within the sub-Saharan African context. In that case, then we would have compared what is coming from Ghana to what is coming from Nigeria, what is coming from South Africa.
Okay.
Right, based on the topic,
yes,
a focus on sub-Saharan
yes.
Africa.
Yes.
Then the search should have excluded countries outside the sub-Saharan Africa.
All right.
But if you want to do a global analysis, then we can just leave out the limitation.
Yes.
Then we do that comparison.
That's well noted. Well noted. That's good.
The other issue is in your keywords, which you used to search, you indicated the focus of the work is about linking e-commerce and sustainability.
Yes. Firm performance.
E-commerce and firm performance.
Yes.
Sustainability was not part per se.
Actually, it's firm performance, normally within the procurement. Like when you talk of firm, we include the sustainability as part of our procurement. Sustainability is part of procurement processes.
Okay, so I was thinking your
that.
search words should have included the sustainability part, but you did not include it. Is there any reason?
Yes, actually, with the replacement of the slide that
you omitted
it, but it's part of the actual work itself. It's part.
My last question, then you go and sit down.
Okay.
Why should you be interested in knowing the trend of papers that have been published in a particular area? Why should you be interested to know who has been contributing the most? Which institution are they coming from? How does it help us?
Yes, it helps us be able to understand the area that you are talking about, the work that people have done, and then the outcome of it, and then we compare it to our side of the world. So that we're able to know what is done elsewhere that we are not doing. That will let you understand and able to identify gaps within the research work about the area. So that you're able to also take advantage of these gaps that we identify from this kind of analysis that we normally do with this bimetric analysis.
All right. Thank you very much, NSKJ.
Thank you.
You can take your seat.
Okay.
Let's clap for him. I see. Please, if you are presenting in this room and you have not sent your work yet, the number to do so is 055-959-1942. And kindly move forward for us. If you're a presenter, we'll be glad that you move forward. All right. The next presenter. Please, it's Mohammed Hafiz is here. Kindly come and have your presentation. Let's clap for him as he comes. So you have 10 minutes, Mohammed. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mohammed Hafiz Mbela Imidrisu. I'm from UDS, Department of Biotechnology and Molecular Biology, and I'll be presenting on the topic, investigation of the commonly preferred yam varieties within the Eastern Dogbon, specifically within 3 locations, or using 3 locations, and those locations are Myong, Zabzogo, and Yendi. Now, I'll start by taking us to the introduction outline, from the background through all the way to the acknowledgement for these particular studies. I'll start with the presentation outline, taking you through the introduction all the way to the acknowledgements used for these particular studies. Now, yam. Yam is a global stable crop which is cultivated in high amounts. And West Africa is one of the leading yam producers. And Ghana, alongside with Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, are also one of the largest yam producers within West Africa. And yam as a stable crop and also as an economic or cash crop contributes to about 17% of Ghana's GDP. And due to the nature of yam, it's not being influenced by the global and international market such that it makes the prices of the yam become highly stable, unaffected by fluctuations or rise and falls of the currencies or dollars. And now, this study will be focusing on the northern regions. Some particular yam varieties that's found within the northern region. And the studies, we are trying to identify these commonly cultivated yam varieties within the eastern Dogon regions. And this particular eastern Dogon region, they are known to be the highest yam producers within the districts of Ghana, other than Upper East, Upper West, and Brown Ahafo. Other than the other normal importance of yam as food, yam also have other importance, such as it being a source of raw materials for us to be able to do some other things. For example, as seen in the diagram, figure 1, we can use yam to be able to get starch. And this starch, we can use it alongside with some other things to be able to do designing for POP, sealing for POP. And also, yam can also be used as, some other sources of yam can also be used as feed for animal and other things. And we can also process most of the raw materials to get things like bioethanol, biopolymers, and also biodegradable plastics. Now, what led to the study of this particular project? First thing first, I personally had one particular experience with yams, and it was a problem that I noticed that people had too. And during that particular time, I went to the market to buy a particular yam that was called Labako. And the local ladies that was in charge of selling the yams, they intentionally sold a yam variety which was not Labako. And later, when I cooked it, people were now blaming me. Why did I go and do something and buy a particular wrong yam variety? And it occurred to me, why is it that despite there being farmers and non-farmers, why can't we be able to identify the yam varieties just by ourselves? So I thought of this and then presented this to ask a question to my supervisor. After presenting it as a question to my supervisor, he said, so in order for us to actually go into the investigation of this particular yam variety, we need to do a baseline survey. And the baseline survey is what I'm actually presenting on. After the baseline survey, we'll now be able to identify the commonly cultivated yam varieties within the northern region and use it to now establish a morphological characterization for the yam varieties. And later on, in relation to my field, we'll now do molecular characterization of the yam varieties. So some of the problems that arise as a result of the misidentification and misrepresentation of the yam varieties are usually because of we not being able to identify the particular yam variety. And because of it leads to lack of trust between those that are selling yam and also in acquiring the authentic high-quality yam varieties. So now, after solving these issues, or why is it something worth solving? By understanding the farmer's preference for yam varieties, we'll now be able to come out with a resilient and a sustainable agriculture by now making our policies that will now involve those particular yam varieties with the trade that the farmers need. And also, we wish to also understand the complex trade that influences the farmers and consumers when it comes to choosing those particular yam varieties within the Eastern Corridor and beyond. And the findings are also important for informing future research and also to improve food security by making readily available the characterization of this yam variety such that we can easily identify it. And by being able to easily identify it will now become very easier for consumers and other people to get exactly what they want from the market without losing of trust or without any confusion between them. Now, what are some of the things that we wish to achieve in these stages? one of the objectives is to identify the most popular yam varieties within the 3 locations from the eastern Dagbon. And then the second one is also to understand why a particular yam variety is preferred by the farmers. So the study areas for the study was conducted within 3 locations. Those are the Myong, Zabzoro, and Yendi. And the reason why we chose those locations is because they are known as the major yam growers within the northern region. And more than 95% of the residents of Myong, they are locals, or they are more than 95% of residents of Myong, they are hailing from the rural communities. That means most of them are always into farming. And about 86% from those from Zabzogo are also assumed to be in farming, whereby a very few amount of them are into other activities. The landscape of these particular areas, they are characterized by well-drained soil and then sandy, loamy soil, which are highly suitable for the yam cultivation. And over there, is characterized just by a single rainy season pattern. And these days, due to how unstable the climatic conditions are, it's become very difficult when it comes to cultivation of some certain crops, including yam. And my research study, it included mixed methodology that combined quantitative data in order to quantify the information that we'll now get, and also to know exactly how and why some certain things are said from the farmers in which we interviewed. And some of the sampling techniques that was used in the study included purposive sampling, where after asking the question to my supervisor, I had to find out a particular place where they farmed yam. And purposive sampling was used in order to identify the place. And after getting to those particular regions, after getting to those particular districts, I then had to use simple random sampling in order to get participants, or in order to get people that will now be able to give me information on the yam. So through that, I got to notice that there were some people that were farming yams, and some people that were not also farming yam. And eventually, in order to make things easier for myself and also to lower resources, I used convenience sample after getting to the communities that was known for farming yam, whereby those that were readily accessible and that was readily available were being interviewed and questioned. And after interviewing and questioning them, I asked them to bring me or to refer other farmers to me. And then that was where the snowball sampling technique was used. So the data was collected. The data was collected. Okay. The data was I used structured questionnaire to be able to gather quantitative data and qualitative data, including both demographic characteristics and also how their reason for some certain yam preferences. And we also interviewed the farmers and consumers to also understand some of the reasons why they chose one particular yam variety and why they needed it. And the survey was conducted using an app that was called Survey Heart Forms app, and this is the application. This is the icon for it. And after obtaining the data, the app will basically show the response summary as shown above, and further analysis and rearrangement was made using Excel.
2 minutes more.
During the study, there were some certain problems that was encountered, and some of them were the person and some of the people that I was interviewing, they couldn't actually identify and confirm some certain yam varieties. And maybe in Myong, they will call a particular yam variety as Labako, and in another place, that same yam variety will be known by another name. And because I was using smaller sample size from I used smaller sample size from the locations due to time resources and due to time restraints and limited resources. And most of the data that we might have collected from the participants may have some inbuilt bias that was contained within them. And this was some of the data that I collected from based on their demographic characteristics. And Myong Myang, Yendi, and Zabzoro, it was noted that Yendi had more people that had more experience when it comes to farming. And Yendi had only few ladies, just one particular lady in Yendi that was into yam farming, despite the other regions not showing ladies being involved in yam farming. And yam farming is not easy. So those that were usually involved in yam farming are people that are married. And the primary occupations of most of the participants or the people that participated in the survey, they were they were farmers with just a few having some other occupations. So then we asked them, will you be willing to leave your primary occupation, if that is farming, to focus on something else? And majority of them said no, across all the three regions, or all the three districts. And most of them were uneducated, so it affected their ability to do some certain practice when it comes to the yam farming. And even though very few were educated, the highest educational level that was reached was tertiary, and they were very little in number, but the second one was the secondary. And they also used modern farming techniques. And the commonly cultivated yam varieties were Laboko, Fishambla, Abinyalala, Afitubitua, and then they also saw the most commonly preferred yam varieties to be Labako, Alondo, Fishambla, and Yaminti. And the reasons why they chose was those things, those particular yam varieties, was because of its suitability for different dishes, and also some of them had the ability to mature early, and then some of them they also have a longer life shelf. And most of the farmers, they were hiring laborers to help in farming because of its labor-intensive nature. In conclusion, due to the lack of reliable identification methods of yam varieties, it fails to bridge the gap between traditional knowledge and market demand, leading to erosion of trust by consumers. And Fishemble and Laboko was identified as the commonly wanted yam varieties within the three locations. And married men were the majority in terms of the yam, majority in number in terms of the yam farming community. And it was not just one factor that was responsible for their yam preference. Some of them included sensory, marketability, and shelf life. So in order to solve all of this issue with the yam identification, we need to adopt a science-backed identification and labeling techniques in order to improve upon the precision and then the accuracy for this. Thank you.
Let's give it for him again. Let's give it up for him. All right, now the floor is open for some questions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. I think from your presentation, you're talking about, or you're looking at yam variation, different types of different yams. So, per your research, how can an ordinary person like me, going to buy yam, get to know Labaku and all the other yam? You have done that research, but how do I, as an ordinary person, benefit from that research that you have conducted? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. Well, this is part of the process that we are doing. In order for an ordinary person to be able to identify the yam variety, that person must have some experience with farming in order to be able to do that. But due to the ability, due to most of us not having experiences with farming, we are unable to identify. So I thought, after falling a victim to the Laboko incident, I thought, why don't we try to devise a method? So, but before we could devise the method, we needed to know the kind of yam varieties that was commonly cultivated. So your question, hopefully in the future, is something that we will answer. We'll come out with particular ways and means of answering it in the future.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yes, I think it was a very nice presentation, and I enjoyed it. And in their choice of the yam varieties, well, did they consider any commercial kind of metric, looking at yield per hectare? I mean, is it just the taste that they were looking at? Because you said they were preferring the Laboko is it laboko?
Labako.
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 Yes, because of its taste and suitability for variety of dishes. But were they not looking at commercialization? I mean, yield per hectare? Because
Yes.
we normally buy yams based on how heavy
They
they are. I mean,
Okay.
if you could consider.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Well, this was some of the findings from the results, but due to the limited number of slides, I couldn't include all of them. So I just summarized. Some of the yam farmers, they preferred some particular yam varieties because of their ability to yield more and also do well under low soil nutrients. Some yam farmers, they preferred it. But whereas the consumers, they were preferring those yam varieties or the yam varieties because of their palatability, because of its long life, because of its market value. Let's say maybe the person is going to sell it to another person. So if it's not something that is commonly sold in the market, and then they buy, they will not be able to sell. But majority of the reasons that influence the farmers' preference had to do with the low ability to do well under low soil nutrients, and then its long life short. Because most of the time, even after harvesting, and then they try storing some of the yams, it starts rotting. And there were some particular yam varieties that had more endurance in being able to restore for a longer period of time. So most of the yam farmers, but because they are farming not for sustenance, because for commercial purpose, they are in the end being influenced by what the consumers need. So they end up farming more of what the consumers need. But whereas what they want, they farm it and then they are using it for, let's say, sustained, for their own consumption.
All right, let me ask this. You were able to identify some factors, but did you delve deeper to match the type of yam, I mean the variety of yam, and those factors which they indicated that they consider? Because you mentioned about 10 variety, and then the factors were also jam up. Okay. So how do I know that for those who prefer variety A, these are their topmost reason? Right? Were you able to do such kind of analysis?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was able to do. There was one particular question that was a part of the survey. What yam variety do you prefer amongst all the yams that you cultivated? And then they will now mention, then I went ahead and asked them, why do you prefer that yam variety?
All right.
Yeah, that's, thank you very much. What's your name again?
Mohammed Hafiz.
Oh, that's an interesting work, and
thank you, sir.
Yeah, a good presentation too. So you have a potential to climb up in the academic ladder. So, but this is a piece of advice. Your problem statement and justification.
Yes.
When you were explaining, you gave baseline information as you went round, and it's good. That makes it interesting, and also an originality in your work. But I want to advise that after you have done all that, you should be able to situate it in a scientific context. What you do, you read around and get some literature to support your observation, and then you pick from there. That will make it scientific. And that what you and your supervisor, you cannot present that as a scientific base for the research. But the idea is good. This is how come innovations and discoveries come about. So try and situate it in research and get some literature to back that.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's a good work.
Thank you, sir.
Mohammed, thanks a lot. You can take your seat as we invite Bernard Ababagari to do his presentation. Bernard.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bernard Ababare. I'm from the Faculty of Bioscience, Department of Biotechnology and Molecular Biology, UDS Yankpala. I'll be presenting on the topic Response of Milled Yam to Miniset Technology. So this is my program outline. I'll be talking about the concept of miniset technology. We have the justification, objective, materials and method, then our results and recommendations. So for most of us here in West Africa, yam is one of the foods that come to our mind when we talk about staple food crops. In West Africa, yam is not just food to us. It serves as the pillar of food security. In Ghana, yam occupies about 11.6% of the total cropped area. This shows how yam is important to those in West Africa, especially Ghanaians. So I would like to talk about some of the benefits of yam. And then I've grouped them. Yam has various cultural values and it serves as a source of income, that's financially. Then also, yam has some social status. When you go to the yam farming communities, there are various kind of, it's not, I don't want to say it's a perception, but there is something they have about yam. Those people who have yam farmers, those yam farmers who are able to cultivate a lot of yam, it's a symbol of wealth over there. They also consider it in certain cultures as a symbol of fertility. Now, income. The sale of yam serves as a source of income to many households in the yam farming communities. Almost all the households in the yam farming communities. Then, employment for the youth. The reason why I want to say employment for the youth is a source of income is because yam, unlike other crops that we can mechanize them, yam is not a crop that can be mechanized. And so therefore you need labor. So it serves as a source of employment. Then the cultural values, we have festivities. We can just say they are rites. Yes, yam is used in many rites in many communities. So the problem statement, there is high cost of yam, seed yam. And then seed yam is very scarce. So often it leaves farmers with a decision of deciding as to whether to use their harvest for food or to save it as seed for the next planting season. Also, the traditional methods of propagation has proved to give low yield and disease-prone tubers. So, what if we could find a method that could solve all these problems for the farmers, that they don't have to contemplate anymore whether to use it as food or save it as seed? So this miniset technique facilitates the production of low-cost seed and also to create abundance of tubers to solve the food problem. The miniset boasts of a multiplication ratio of 1:30, depending on the size of the tuber. So why milked yam? Miniset is a technology that is known to some farmers already, but usually they use the fully matured yam, which is ware yam. So the reason why we want to use milked yam is that we want to optimize tuber production as well as seed generation. In the sense that milked yam is like a first harvest for the farmers. So they usually harvest that one freshly, but this time it's not the time they sell yam. This is not the yam season. So when they harvest this milked yam, we can use it to produce seed. While the yam grows to the end of the season, then they harvest the food. That is the ware yam. So the study aims to examine the morphological quality of minisets produced using produced using miniset technology from milked yams. and also to compare the response of different varieties to this mini-set technology. The study was conducted in UDS, Farming for the Future site. So this is the geographical location of the Farming for Future site. We had our yam varieties from Ajalaja Beposo, which is in the Pru West district in Bono East region. So the tubers were sliced into small sizes, ensuring that there's no damage to the peel of the yam. And a 2x4 factorial experiment was conducted. This is an experiment which we have 2 factors. And then one of the factors has 2, let's say, subsets. Then the second factor has 4 subsets. So over here, our first factor is variety, which will have, our first factor is the medium, which was covered soil and uncovered soil. The second factor is variety, which we were looking into 4 varieties. That is Dante, Olodo, Nyamiti, and then Dante, Olodo, Nyamiti, and Pinjo. That's what they call it. So the methodology. Here are some images from the cutting of the yam to the weighing. Because mini-set, as we know, has an average weight of between 25 grams to 65 grams. So we needed to weigh them to make sure that they fall within this range. Otherwise, it's not mini-set. Then you can see that over here, some of the mini-sets are left exposed. That is uncovered medium. Yes. So throughout the experiment process, this is some of the data we collected. Number of sprouted mini-sets per variety, number of rotting mini-sets, average weight of mini-set before sprout, the average weight of mini-set after sprout, then the number of unsprouted mini-set. All these were data that was recorded throughout the experiment to be used to analyze, to come to a conclusion. So the results. Over here, this is a diagram showing the sprouting rate of each of the varieties. So over here we can see so the analysis of sprout, it indicates that variety, you can see that some varieties are higher than other varieties. This clearly tells us that variety played a factor in as to whether the mini-set will sprout or not, the sprouting rate. Variety played a factor. So this is also in line with some other studies that emphasize the role of variety in the sprouting outcome. So these are images of the sprout. That's after, at the end of the experiment, these are images of the sprout. Then, this diagram demonstrates the likelihood of covered and uncovered. You can see over here that the red is the uncovered. Yes, which shows that it had more likelihood of sprouting. Yes, more than the covered. But with the other variety over there, you see that, okay, over here they are all the same. So this is also the average means of the number of roots. So when we took the number of roots, we counted the average. So for each of the varieties, both covered and uncovered, we have the means over there. So it was observed there was no significant difference between the number of roots. So this demonstrates that either covered soil or uncovered soil, it didn't have an effect on what roots the number of roots you see there. Then in conclusion, Nyamiti variety had the highest mini-set sprout rate, both in covered and uncovered. This speaks to the fact that variety plays a role. So you can see that no matter which treatment was given to it, it managed to sprout higher than all the other varieties. Then the covered medium, and so generally too, covered medium performed better than uncovered medium. Yes, that was a general conclusion that was drawn from all the 4 varieties. Abutre also, in both uncovered and then covered, recorded minimum number of, like the highest minimum mean number of rods. So it turns out that variety also plays a crucial role in whether the miniset will get rotten or not. Yes, so that's varietal resistance to decay. Recommendations. Milked yam tubers are equally good for farmers, are equally good for yam minisets, and should be investigated further to ascertain the understanding and level of maturity required for this miniset technology. So, okay. Nyamiti milked yam is recommended since it seemed to perform well in both treatments. Then we would like to investigate further into other involving more varieties to determine which one is the best for miniset technology. These are the references. And then I would like to acknowledge my supervisor, Dr. Damba Yahaya, for his guidance. Thanks to the Faculty of Bioscience and also my colleagues who helped in this experiment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah. It appears today we have to take a lot of yams to our house. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Chair. My only concern, that's a very nice presentation and quite a brief one. Yes, the conditions for the sprouting, aside the covered soil and the uncovered soil, did you also look at other metrics in terms of the type of soil, the soil, moisture level, acidity level? There are several conditions that facilitate sprouting. So the variety that you were looking at, okay, vis-a-vis the sprouting conditions, aside the covering of the soil and the uncovering of the soil, did you look at the soil texture, soil type, soil acidity level, any other factors apart from the covering?
Yes, so thank you for the question. We actually looked into that. So for this reason, we made a hat for shade purposes. So this was conducted within the hat. So for the soil within the hat, we ensured that we made this one, some kind of a bed where each of the minisets were just randomly placed. So it's assuming that the soil there is evenly distributed. And if not, it was randomly placed. So it's not such that Abutre variety was here, then the next row is for Nyamiti variety, so that such that you say that this side of the soil had more nutrient. That's why this one didn't do well and this one did well. It was randomized such that you could see Abutre everywhere. Then you could see Nyamiti also everywhere. So for that reason, we thought that the soil was evenly distributed.
Yeah, sorry, it's just a follow-up. I'm tempted to believe that the varieties of the yam are okay. Some may be conducive for some conditions, and some may not be conducive for some conditions. Perhaps maybe the laboko, I don't know, some of the things you might be conducive for sprouting if the soil texture or quality or acidic level hits a certain threshold. So you see, if you say even, that's my problem. Okay. So my only challenge is you are setting an even condition for all the varieties. But you may bear witness that some variety might grow well in some moisture level of soil and some might grow less in some moisture level of soil. Maybe if you didn't consider that's fine. I'm just bringing your mind on that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. If we would further do it, we will consider it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. In fact, I saw some pictures in your presentation with human beings. And my question is, did you seek for permission from those people before using them? If yes, then no problem. If no, then you can have a legal suit one day. So be careful. When you are using pictures in your thesis,
Okay.
seek permission from those people before you use it. Other than that, you'll be found wanting one day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. My question had already been asked, but I want to find out whether you applied some form of irrigation or you irrigated the varieties before. Or the
No,
crops.
actually, the time we were conducting this, it was in the rainy season.
Oh, okay.
So we did not need to irrigate it.
Okay, so it means that anytime you want to do that, you have to do it in the rainy season. Because those that you didn't cover, definitely they will be influenced by the weather condition, which will influence whatever happens. So
Yes.
you need to look at some of those things, okay?
Okay.
And I think the first question that they asked, you need to do some soil sampling to get to know the constituents of the soil, because they will all influence how the sprout will take place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right. Where's Dr. Kwakwa? I think I saw him around. Yes. All right. So thank you very much. But yes. Yes, but I want to assist you regarding the question you asked. This is a baseline study. Unless you want to characterize the soil, the randomization, he said, at least for baseline, works. He was looking at, it's focused on the variety. So you make sure you make the soil medium at least uniform, as he was trying to say. So randomization will cater for that, so that you silence on the other factors, then concentrate on the variety. Yes, all other factors remaining constant. So the randomization works for him. But I'm happy you use further studies. So you may want to go into looking at the soil qualities and how they influence those sprouting and other yield. They are very important. But if you just want to focus on the variety, it's okay for now. But it's good also to go ahead and look at that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Yes, you have to indicate it. You have to state it.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your
coming.
contributions.
Thank you. So the next presenter is Mr. Morris